Tom, go ahead and kick us off.
Rich.
Hello.
Hey, we'll start just with the Manpower. Our Joyner and Songbin were both out there today. Are they good for the weekend?
Yeah, both come in healthy, fit, so they'll both be available for selection.
And Simon wasn't out there?
No, Simon took a knock yesterday on the foot, so he's in a little bit of pain. What we're doing right now is he's getting some tests to see if there's an extent of the injury or if there isn't, and then tomorrow we'll make a decision on his availability.
Okay. And is Seth someone you're thinking about, or you just need him there for numbers?
Right now he's here for numbers, but Seth has played very well at the next pro level all season. He's been a big piece to their success, and he's trained really well with us. So right now it's for numbers, but not sure where that'll take us in the near future here.
All right. And so now you're going into Montreal, and they're a team kind of in the same position you are. I mean, is it almost a high stakes game for you guys? You want to win them all, but considering both of yours lot in life, there's a lot riding on this game?
There is, but it shouldn't be anything new. There's been stakes riding on this team in our games every week for now, the last 8 weeks or so. So for the focus I demand from these guys, for the attention to detail that I demand, it's the same. It's the same as it's been all other games. I believe they've just recently been eliminated as of the 1-1 draw last week. So you never know what to expect. You never know if you're going to expect a really deflated team that's now mathematically out of it and is just crawling along the finish line, or is it a group that comes and plays with a lot of freedom, a lot of less pressure, which at times for players can be good. I guess we'll see when we kick off.
How do you feel about how practice went this week for you guys, coming off a difficult result and in an almost eliminated state?
It's been a good week. There's been real good intensity in the training sessions. The guys are competing very, very tough out there, very hard out there. So the Monday to Friday I've been very pleased with. We get to the weekend, we have some good performances. We haven't picked up results, we know that. But the process that we've put in place, I've been comfortable with, I've been happy with. Players respond to it every single week. So this week's been a good, intense week. So I hope we can now, channel that energy that we've seen in training onto the field this weekend.
Justin and Matt.
Just kind of looking at Montreal, there's a potential that, again, you'll be a team that can have a lot of possession, that can kind of dictate the game. Looking at how things went in Dallas, is there maybe some excitement to have another shot at it, where if you do generate that many opportunities to have potential to finish?
Yeah, I'd be very happy even if we generate half the chances, but still win the football game. I think for us now, we've talked about this as a group. We've showed them the process. We've showed a lot of data. We've showed a lot of situations where we're doing well, but we haven't won the football game inevitably. So now it's about getting a result, and everything we're going to do is to try and pick up that objective. I would be very, very happy if we create 20 chances in a game, because that's still a very high number. But we still have to score more goals. We can't be giving them amount of chances and not score more than one. It will feel different. Dallas was a team that plays. I know that the player sent off did affect their shape, but they're a team that is typically defending their own half more. Montreal does press. They make it very chaotic at times, so we can escape the chaotic moments and their pressure. I think there'll be a lot more space than what we've seen against Dallas. So be different types of opportunities we'll create, hopefully more with space in behind or space between the lines. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what we can generate on the attack. And again, on the other side, keeping a much more nailed down defence. That is a massive objective for Kess and for all these guys on the field, is just being very relentless on the defensive side.
Yeah, just tying it into last week, you talked about just the need to find those spaces a little bit quicker than you're able to. Does that kind of tie into, if it's a more chaotic game, also thinking about just how do we stay structured while opening things up and finding that space?
I think so. Against Dallas, you would have had to find space by a double movement, a triple movement, dragging someone out to create space for someone else. This one will be, if the players' qualities individually can get them out of a 1v1 chaotic moment, space will be there. If they don't change everything now that they're out of playoffs and they play the system and style that they've played, they'll press you hard. They'll be chaotic in how they defend. If you can escape it with your 1-2 combinations, with the individual qualities to get out of it, there will be space. Now you've got to take it very fast off the dribble. And if we can do that, we should be successful. Yeah.
Coach, Montreal's a very young team, and I think they've been a self-professed rebuild at this point. You mentioned the being eliminated from the playoffs. How does the youth, how does the that rebuild process, facing a team going through that, how does that change what you want to see from your guys, and do you expect the experience from your team to be an advantage?
I think so. If they go out with a younger group, if they go out with a mindset now of maybe we're going to try and give some next pro guys an opportunity or some academy guys an opportunity, you expect the experience to take over. Until I can predict that, which we don't get to know 75 minutes beforehand with the lineup, what we're trying to do is just be very practical in how they've played in the last 5-6 games, to find space those ways on both sides of the ball and attack it from that objective. But if they roll out a brand new lineup and it's a younger lineup, then the message quickly will be for these guys to use their experience to get them across the line on the weekend.
Last week you talked about the progressing the ball through the wings, leading into some of the lineup choices. This week you have Songbin back available. Can you talk a little bit about the impact Songbin has in the others around him, right back, other midfield spots, what he adds to the team, and what you how you build the roster with his strengths in that 11?
Yeah, Sangi, he's a different profile than Celio. Last week we played out of a different shape as well. I know you're all aware of. We played out of a 2-system striker shape last week. I don't want to give too much away. I can't show any cards this one. I have to be as prepared as possible. But what Sangi does is he helps with a dynamic of stretching the game and getting in behind. So he opened up spaces differently. The way he can accelerate and take on players with his physicality is a weapon that this group should and could benefit from. So his movements will be different. We know that they're going to be aggressive in different spaces. Again, I'm not going to give that one away, but they're going to be aggressive in different spaces than Dallas. So we're prepared for some movements of the forwards for that. But yeah, Sangi comes in with a different profile, and he can attack space very, very well.
Is this the kind of match that may benefit a player like Tomas Ostrak, not giving away which spaces you may be talking about, but a player like that who is good on the ball in central locations? Yeah.
Thomas is a player that I mentioned before their behaviours. If it's a chaotic moment, he's really good at escaping that. So he'll be one of them that we're heavily looking at for the weekend to utilise, just because he gets out of chaotic moments and high press moments pretty well. Yeah.
We go Tom, then Drew.
Coach, these last few months have had to have been one of the most amazing periods in your life. What have the biggest surprises been to you that maybe that just come at you from out of the blue?
I think, well, yes, it's been a fantastic experience, even with what we've gone through. I always show up with, an excitement about what I do for my career and my life. Just knowing that when you work very hard behind the scenes for many, many years, and then you finally step into, let's call it the spotlight here, that I know I'm ready, that I know I'm prepared for these opportunities, for this amount of pressure, for dealing with a team and motivating a team that is where they're at in the standings. I've felt like I can help this team and help this group. Until you're thrown in it, you'll always have an idea if you can or not, but once you're in it and you feel it, I felt very confident with what I've been able to do as a coach. So that's been something I've learned about myself over the last couple of months.
So one of the biggest results is that your preparation to this point has paid off, correct?
I would say so.
Drew?
Hey, Coach. When you're looking back at that Pompeo goal in the video room, what are you saying to the guys? Like, why that worked?
It was from a set-piece moment. So we spend a lot of time as a team on set pieces with Alex, our goalkeeper coach, who does the set pieces too. And, last week we actually threw a little wrinkle in there. We added in, usually what these guys will do is they'll take we call it the first phase, which is the direct moment. But we kind of started to increase a second and third ball being thrown in random situations so they can react quickly and respond quickly. And Celio was able, in last week's preparation, to get a couple of shots in we call it the second phase. So in them moments, I feel like he felt confident stepping up to take the shot. And again, it's just the execution, right? Alex designed the play very well. The players knew their roles and responsibilities in that moment, but the players have to execute the moments too. and he did very well at that level with the goal.
And then with that execution, how much at this point in the season is the start, when you look at the starting 11, how much of that is training, like executing in training versus executing in the game?
It's both. You have to look at, first of all, I'll take this game as the example for you from Montreal. I have to look at who performed well in Dallas. So then I have a vast good idea of who's now ready for the next game, Montreal. Then I observe them in training every single week. Are they showing up with a good attitude? Are they showing up executing actions in training? If they've ticked both boxes, they for sure get a start. If one player didn't tick any of the boxes, I look at who's next up, who's ready. And if one player ticks one box, I have a discussion like I do always with my staff and say what is the best based on all the situations, Montreal shape, all these details that I think I've discussed a few times before. So you have to do both. You can't just train well on the weekend, not perform on the weekend and expect to play. And you can't just play well on the weekend and not show up in training and expect to get the spot next week. So it is a balancing act.
We'll do Tom, then finish with Matt.
Has there been a defensive game that you felt good about? And there hasn't been a clean sheet in the whole time. But once you said, okay, that was a good, that was what we wanted to do.
There's been a few. I mean, definitely. The most recent ones at home, I look at the Nashville game, the 3-1 win. We shut out two very good players in Surridge and Mukhtar. They didn't have, except for the penalty, they didn't have a lot of chances created. The last game, you just look at the data they had. I think it was 0.3 XG, and they scored once 1-1, and they had two chances the entire game. I have to give some credit to the defending side. I know we had a lot of the ball, but we counter-pressed well. We were aggressive. We swarmed Dallas in moments where they couldn't generate anything. So, you don't even need to see the data if you watched last week's game to say defensively, apart from the one offensive mistake we had with the ball when we threw it in, they had no creation except for the one header, actually, that Roman made the good save on. But so I was very happy last week. Vancouver, I know there was a couple of moments with the referees that we've all discussed before. They did generate some moments, but against a really tough Vancouver team, I thought we'd done a good job shutting them down. So there's been some good performances, but we have leaked way, way too many goals. And we know that, all of us. So it's hard to say the performances are good if you do concede in the big moments as well.
Matt, we'll finish with Matt.
I want to talk about playing on the road, Coach. We all know that away matches in MLS are difficult. One of the more difficult leagues to play in on the road in the world. Yep. But you personally now have had 6 away matches, haven't had a win or a draw, and you've got 3 left. So the team in general this year has not been good on the road, 1 total win. What have you learned about MLS matches on the road this season, and what do you think this team needs to get over that hump under your leadership to get a decision?
The one thing I've learned is, and this is not an excuse, is the location of St. Louis is tough, especially on the road. If LAFC is going to go and play LA Galaxy in an away game, some might even live closer to that stadium. So for us, we do have to travel into different time zones. We have to acclimatise to the weather, obviously with being in the Midwest here quite often. So there is a lot that puts us behind a level playing field. So we have to make up that in some situations. The results have not been good enough on the road, as you mentioned, Matt. One thing I look at is, if I'm in this position next year, is how do I change that? Do we travel up the day of earlier and train in that stadium or in the training facility there to just shake things up a little bit different? Because things need to change. You can't go on the road for this many games and pick up so little of points. So we've put a lot of time already analysing that. But right now we're looking at Montreal as hopefully our first away win under myself. So yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, everybody.
so long that with the defensive unit this team has that it just hasn't happened?
Yes, I think it's surprising.
And why do you think it has happened?
I think we've made mistakes that have led to goals. Haven't executed as best as possible. Haven't put together 90 minutes of a complete defensive performance. So I would say those reasons.
How big is it? Montreal's another team at the bottom. How big is it to stay out of last place?
It's huge. It's huge. To playing against a team that's struggling as well. So we're hoping to take advantage of that. But yeah, no one wants to finish last. So we're trying to avoid that.
Justin?
Henry, there are a lot of changes while you're out from injury and coming back. Now you have maybe a new center back partner in fellow Fall. And how have you been kind of adjusting with some of the changes in your surroundings, but also how has the chemistry been developing with Timo and with fellow Fall next to you?
Good. Falu's a young guy, really talented. So it's been good working with him, and Timo as well. Very experienced. He has played in the top leagues in Germany. So it's good to have both of them. Like playing with both of them, and I think the chemistry between us is good.
Is that important? Because Critchley, your manager was in here earlier talking just about how just the chaos of positioning lately has been. Does it feel like some of that chemistry is needed just to make sure that the spacing is where it needs to be and the positionally you're where you need to be? Yeah,
100%. I still think like we're learning each other a little bit. Where he'll be in certain scenarios, what his preferences are. So that's a learning process, and you only learn that via experience. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Do Matt, then Tom.
In the same vein of that, I'm curious your thoughts on the right back spot. So playing as that right-sided center back. Talk about the differences between a player like Haziel Orozco when he was in, or Conrad Wallem, Thomas Totland, who I would say might share more similar qualities. What's it like from your perspective managing the game when different types of players like that are next to you?
Yeah. All three good players, different profiles, though, as you said. I think Conrad is the most linear of the three. Hazi's probably the most comfortable playing, in between lines, stuff like that, and then Toddy's somewhere in between. But all really good technical players that can fit in that role, but all bring slightly different things.
You've had some pretty good run of play defensive performances. How do you feel St. Louis needs to improve on some of those set piece opportunities? It seems like that's been a consistent area that St. Louis has allowed some goals. So what do you see that needs to improve on the set piece defense?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Houston, Vancouver recently. I think the first one is preventing set piece opportunities, so not giving away wide free kicks, not giving away unnecessary corners, and then really attacking the ball. I think that's might sound simple, but attack the ball. We have zonal guys that are there that are free, to attack the ball, and then the man markers, I think, for the most part, stay with their guys. So it's just making sure we're attacking the ball.
So you still feel pretty comfortable with the strategy behind how you're approaching set piece defenses?
Yeah, I think so. I think some of it's just executing.
Tom?
I'm here to ask the tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza.
Oh,
Have
man.
you found?
No updates.
No updates on pizza?
Still Pizzeria de Gloria. Still my
Oh.
number one here.
Okay.
Haven't tried Emos yet. Really need to get there.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
No,
All right.
you don't. You're from New York. Man.
Maybe I don't. Do you have a favorite?
The one I'm told about is Pizza LA.
Pizza LA.
Friends of mine who are connoisseurs. My friend who took me to Arturo's
Yeah.
says that Pizza LA. It's in U City, really small joint, but he says next to Arturo's, this is it.
Really?
Yeah.
Arturo's is my favorite place. So
I'm gonna stop the pizza conversation real quick. Let's go to a question back here. Drew, go ahead.
Going back to set pieces, how often do you work on set pieces, and what does that look like?
Yeah, 2 times a week. So usually Thursdays and Fridays. We'll do attacking restarts. We'll do defending restarts. Like Coach said, we'll do second and third phase as well. So, 2 times a week. That's pretty much what it looks like.
right. And then at this point of the season, what do you think your biggest strength as a club is and your biggest weakness as a club?
Good question. I think our biggest weakness has been probably our results. I think that's the bottom line that a lot of people look at, and being towards the bottom of the conference, I think that's a weakness. And then I think our biggest strength would be dealing with change. I think we've had a lot of change. I think everyone has dealt with it pretty well on a personal level, and hoping that we put it together as a group. But I would say our biggest strength has been dealing with change.
We'll finish. Sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, so when there is like individual mistakes on defense, what advice do you give to the guys?
Try to forget about it for now. Like during the game, forget about it, and then afterwards we can talk about it. But it's done. It's in the past. There's nothing you can change. A past action is, I often say, like, just next one. It's not something that you should worry about, because I feel like if you start worrying about it, that leads to another mistake. So just on to the next one. Forget about it. Don't worry about it, and try to play your best from that point on.
We'll finish with Tom.
How different is it though playing with Falou, who's a newcomer and who's a young guy, and Timo, who's been around and is a very experienced guy? Timo's been through everything and Falou hasn't. Does that change how you have to be vigilant?
I think more than their difference in experience is their difference stylistically. Timo, for instance, is a right-footed player. Maybe I play him more inside so he can be on his right foot. Falou left-footed so he can drive on that left side. Stuff like that I think is more of a difference for me than their levels of experience. They've both played in different leagues other than MLS, so they bring different experiences. But I think for me, it's just the player profile that's the biggest difference between the two.
You guys can be mathematically eliminated this week. You, in a practical sense, have been eliminated for a while. But is there something about when it's official? Is there anything change? Or does that feel differently in some way?
Yeah, I think you always have hope until you're officially eliminated. But, as you said, realistically, we've been at that point for a little bit. But when it's official, it's official. There's, no changing that. But nothing will change from our point of view. We'll still try to put our best team out there and perform as best as possible.
You think you'll have 4 more games to go, but I guess with the way this season has gone, that there's still lots to show, lots to play for.
100% for everyone. Players. We all want to play to win. But guys are playing for contracts. People, have their jobs on the line. So there's a lot at stake, and I think we'll play like it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Henry. Can now continue the pizza conversation.
Yeah.